Hello, everyone. Could I just get your attention? This is Miami Minutes. This is the podcast that analyzes the movie Miami Connection 1 minute at a time, and we just came in 4th place of a podcast that do that particular thing in the world. So let's make a lot of noise for our team.
Woo, woo.
Yes, I am the host. One of the hosts, Niall McGann.
And I am your host, who sure as hell ain't going to settle for 4th, John Parker. We're number 1, baby, probably because I think we're the only Miami Connection podcast.
Yes, I should clarify that in case anyone's out there going, like, the 4th of podcasts to do that, but is there 3 other Miami Connection podcasts? Not that we're aware of.
Not that I could find when I came up with this stupid idea. I did have a look. In fact, the other day I had a look because I was thinking about, in the future, in like a few years' time, what other podcast could I do?
And God, think about the future.
Yeah.
That's a distant past for us now.
I thought, like, what incorporates my love of, the television, because it's a bit different from film, and my love of history. And I was like, Blackadder. And I looked, and there's only like one Blackadder podcast, and it finished about 4 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And I was
so assuming that'd be episode by episode.
Yeah,
that would be like
minute by minute. No, so I thought, well, in the future, don't write this down, people, because I'm talking about in like a few years. I'm contemplating it. It could be done. It could be done.
I just imagine then, like, years from now, people are like, John, where's the podcast, man? Like Neil Brown with that friggin' Studio Ghibli.
Is that ever coming out? Has it been out? Have I been on it yet?
He assured me last week when I met him that it's not him, that he's got the whole thing edited. He's waiting on the guy doing the artwork. I guess maybe he's doing like different art pieces for each episode or something. But it's apparently the show is ready to roll. It's just that, and by the time this episode aired, who knows? It might be underway.
Yeah, look out for it. What does he call it? It's a very long title.
It's Science and Magic: The Films of Studio Ghibli or something. It sounds like an art book that will come out with rather than a podcast.
Which I actually think is great, though. That's a novel approach to naming your show.
Yeah. It kind of makes you think, though, like, so I guess Mogwai Minute was like George Hendrix's idea because it's so like, well, that's short and punchy, But,
as good as that is, we're not here to talk about Studio Ghibli.
No. Well, of course, we're here to talk about minute 13 of Miami Connection.
Unlucky 13.
Yeah, it's a bit of a contrast in terms of what happens, because it begins with an eruption of applause, and it ends a minute later with another eruption of applause, but just on a much smaller scale.
Much less badass, much less rockin'.
Yeah, it's for something that is, I guess, impressive, but it's no dragon sound. I mean, if that guy had been like, "Well, go make some noise for dragon sound," the whole the windows would have been shattered. The foundations of the school would have rocked if people had to applaud for dragon sound.
Hell yeah! Dragon Sound seemed like the kind of band who would go and play university campuses.
Oh, totally. But particularly considering they're all students of that university as well, despite the age gaps and stuff. Well, I guess we are assuming age gaps.
You can
be like, I'm exactly the same age as all these other people. What are you talking about?
You can be an older student anyway. I mean, I just finished my degree at 36.
Oh, of course, yeah. But it'd just be weird that if they, I guess maybe Dragon Sound inspired Mark to enroll.
Yeah.
And he's like, going in. Well, that'll be all stuff for later episodes. Like, what is everyone of Dragon Sound studying and stuff? But
but this is all going to be in our prequel comic that we come up with.
Oh, God. And, of course, the expansive novelization that we were discussing last week as well.
And the desktop role-playing game we're creating.
Yeah. And, of course, maybe some lore will be added to the Miami Connection Monopoly where we're in discussion with Hasbro or whoever.
So we're going to have to now start adding loads of things to our Miami Minutes wiki.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a Miami Connection wiki already, though. You'd be surprised at the things that have them,
Well, if it exists, I'm going to create a section for us for our show.
I remember this is off topic, but like I looked up a thing because obviously the Batman wiki, particularly for the movies, was a wealth of information during when the Burton movies in particular, and there was a thing like I remember in Returns always making reference to Bix Carbondale, who was a character that was in the Dan Waters script that then just didn't make it into like the the finished product, the strict revised draft.
Yeah.
And I've been on that Batman Wiki, and since that season has aired, someone's now claiming that there's a random reporter that is Bix Carbondale.
What?
And I was like, no, it's not, because if it was, I would have known, and I would have been. I was talking about that guy every goddamn week.
We know everything about that.
Like, that man was just unnamed reporter. Plus, he was just like this kind of schlubby looking reporter. Like, Bix Carbondale is supposed to be like a cheesy kind of like Max Headroom looking kind of guy. So, no, but anyway. That's my latest debacle with the Batman Wiki there, for anyone who's curious.
Yeah, we're going to sue them.
Unless it was someone who listens to the show and was so inspired that they're like, I'm going to add in Bix Carbondale and pretend he's in the movie.
We're going to make him a thing.
Yeah, bring him back. Bring him back.
Well, speaking of being back, we are back now. As you said, Friends is finally over. Not the show or the concept of Friends, the song.
Although the show Friends is like, 18 years dead, I believe, at this point. But
at the point we are talking, not at the point where this movie is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I guess it's in the distant... Actually, not even a distant future. Like 87, 94, so it's actually relatively close to the beginning of Friends.
Isn't that insane? When you think about how this looks and how that looks.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like worlds apart.
I was always think it's still so weird, though, because, you always get those sort of marking points in life. Where, like, I remember being a kid, been like, even when I was pre-10 years old, knowing, like, Bart Simpson's 10, and I'm gonna be the same age as Bart Simpson soon.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
And then getting past that, and then there's, like, people in there, and then I always remember it being the looming thing of, like, we're gonna be saying to my friends, like, we're gonna be as old as the characters in Friends at, like, a couple of years' time, because I think that show starts when they're 26.
Yeah.
And now we're nearly 10 years out from that, so I'm almost at the age of, at least when the actors in Friends would have been, like, where they would have been when the show was wrapping up. Except Lisa Kudrow, because I believe she's way older than.
Yeah, she's quite a bit older than the others. Yeah. Like, not like a year or two. It's like a good amount, isn't it?
I think she's like quite like a not an elderly woman, but you'd be surprised if you looked up her age. Like, oh my god, I had no idea. But,
hey, I'm not complaining.
No. But yeah, so like that's and I've got nowhere near as deep a tan as the cast of Friends did, but it was always the best thing about that show is every season I'm coming back and there's been more tan because the cast was clearly going off on massive holidays.
Yeah, you could see where the money went.
Yeah. You can see that, Matthew Perry's like, is he on drugs this year? Is he off drugs? You can kind of tell by the rapid weight fluctuations and stuff. Always entertaining. If the show wasn't that good, if the scripts weren't sparkling, at least you had that to look forward to.
Much like this podcast, if the episode isn't doing it for you, you can hear us spiral into a pit of depression second by second.
All the chatter about Friends will.
Yeah. But we get the last line of the song was to win, boom, and fist pumps galore. Take a drink, people. The crowd love it.
Yeah, I always enjoy a song that ends with an explosion.
Yes.
Not many I can think of, to be fair. I believe the theme tune to The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy on TV used to end with an explosion.
I'm going to suggest to Pete that one of our new songs ends with that. And flames on stage like Rammstein.
Was it the end credit song of Red Dwarf? Also ended with an explosion, as I recall.
Yeah. Which I kind of love that song, but at the same time, I've never really understood what it's got to do with Red Dwarf.
I thought it was supposed to be ironic.
I guess.
It's because, fun in the sun. And it's just like, it's just trapped on a spaceship out in the barren black void of space. So, I guess Lister, maybe in his head, he's like, oh, yeah.
Living the
fly
life.
far away from here. All that kind of thing. Yeah, so. But I always used to love that. Yeah, the big long, I guess it might have been a tribute to Star Wars. Just the big long trek across the back of the Red Dwarf itself.
Oh, it's defo a Star Wars thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But so cause one of the things I don't like in music is when a song fades out.
Oh no, I hate that. Because in my head I think, well, they could still be playing to this day.
Yeah, somewhere in some sort of sliding doors mirror universe or something. There's another split reality where there's like, freaking those Leonard Skinner never stopped recording Freebird.
It's still going.
Yeah, their fingers are just worn down to nubs at this point. But no, they've been going since the 70s.
Well, that's the thing. I like to know, what's the end of your song, goddammit?
Yeah. And if you can't think of a good ending, put in an explosion.
Yeah, don't fade out. Blow something up.
Yeah, and I feel that's what Dragon Sound had the vision, and they had the wisdom to put in that explosion. Because they're like, we could let this refrain go on forever and then just fade out. But better to burn passionately than to fade away.
Better to explode than to fade away.
Unless it's a kind of Spinal Tap situation, and like the drummer blew up behind them and we just didn't see it or something.
Yeah, that was meant to be like a nod to Spinal Tap, and the studio said, we can't do that. It's too bleak.
That other guy, who was it, Jack? I think we were talking. You don't quite see him on stage, so he could be a later addition to Dragon Sound. The drummer's dead at this point.
He's drummer 10.
Yeah. But yeah, so we get of course the audience applause as they should. And we get what I really loved was the little clink of glasses between Yashito and Jeff.
Right, I've got a question about that with the little wee clink. An odd reaction, considering how angry Jeff was just a couple of minutes ago, right?
Yeah.
Does this feel like a completely... They just shot this... Like, well, we'll slot it in somewhere. I
think this is Yashito's trying to cheer him up. He's just like, I bought you a drink. And it's like, no, we're gonna have a good time, because even Yashito's kind of giving like a little salute to the band.
Yeah,
like he's here to have a good time.
He enjoyed it. He thought it was cool.
Yeah, I don't know, because I'm guessing they have to sit through a whole set. So it's kind of more like, you better strap in, Jeff, because they got 12 more songs after this.
Well, that's a question I've written down. Do you think they only did one song? Do you think they did a full set? Like, what is the setup here? Because if it is one song, is it the beginning? Is it the end?
I took it to be, because they were introduced as the new house band, I thought this was the premiere night and you'd get a full Dragon Sound set.
Well, I would think that, but you don't end your opening song with an explosion.
I think every Dragon Sound song probably ends with an explosion. Just the movie fades it out every time.
Yeah.
They start with gunfire and they end in explosions. That is the Dragon Sound. You think it should be like a burst of like flame, like a dragon's breath. Yeah. And then that would be the Dragon Sound. But it's weird. In this movie, do they ever mention a dragon in a song?
Oh God, off the top of my head, no.
Not to keep an eye, like throughout the remainder of the movie, to see like, yeah, it would be weird. Like, oh, we're called Dragon Sound. It's like, you wouldn't just call yourselves that because it sounds cool. I'm hoping you have a deeper meaning than that.
Well, I think it's just meant to be, what's martial arts? Dragons. That's and it's an Asian thing. Throw that in there.
Yeah. I guess so. Although what is the Dragon Sound they're referring to? Is it the fire breath? Is it the flapping of wings?
Well, that's a good point, because I'm not sure about Korean versions of dragons, but Chinese dragons are very different. I don't think they even breathe fire. They're more associated with water, aren't they?
Oh,
so I don't know. And they don't have wings like big wings like our dragons have. They're like little... They kind of fly by magic more than anything, I think.
Yeah, you always see them. They're always like so long, and they kind of almost coil around themselves sometimes in midair, like a snake and stuff. It's like, yeah,
it's like a flying snake, but with like a. How do you describe the face? Even it's very unique looking. I'm sure the listeners have seen them, but if not, look them up.
This might be what like Dragon Sound we're going for as well. It's like, yeah, but what is the sound? Like, what is the sound of one hand clapping? And we all know, of course, it's. Like that.
Are you hitting your hand into your palm?
Yeah.
Right, I've always thought that's the thing. When people say, "What's the sound of one hand clapping?" I'm like, "Well, it's clearly that." Like, what the?
Yeah. I mean, again, that's Bart Simpson pointed that out in the show when Lisa was it. I was like, that is the sound of one hand clapping right there.
And I remember that was a question. I think the first time I remember hearing it, I mean, I probably heard it in The Simpsons, but it was in the Earthworm Jim cartoon that came up as a question.
Ah.
And I think he solved it by slapping the other evil Jim in the face, if I remember.
I was going to say Earthworm Jim, because then it's like, I guess he does have hands within the mecha suit he's got.
Yeah, he's got the suit on, obviously.
He himself would be like, oh, I don't even have hands, man.
I'm not even entirely sure of the concept of what they do. I know they hold this gun thing. That's all I can do with it.
That's still to this day, though, even despite the giant revival, for obvious reasons, of Dune. every time someone mentions the whole fear is the mind killer thing, it makes me think of Earthworm Jim rather than Doom, because it's like, oh, that's why I first heard it. It was like, it's like what they call like the dog guy I used to hang out with.
Yeah. Who
hated he really hated haggis or something? There's a lot of really silly random things in Earthworm Jim.
That's why it was good.
Yeah, but I remember I think when he got scared, he would turn into a big monster, and every time, so he'd have to stop himself from being scared, and he'd start reciting like, "I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings, all this stuff."
Throwing that into a children's cartoon.
Again, for years I thought that was, and then I saw like David Lynch's Dune when I was a teenager, and I was like, "What?"
David Lynch is stolen from Earthworm Jim.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, I love that word." Like, you asked all the real questions, like what's the sound of one hand clapping?
So what you're telling me is confirmed. David Lynch's newest project is an Earthworm Jim movie. Okay.
Isn't there things he was going for, like Ronnie Rocket and stuff? Like
I listened to a podcast where they did a script read of that.
Oh yeah. Actually, I did also. Oh, no, it was probably the same podcast.
Oh, it could be.
Yeah, but yeah, because with that kind of stuff that David Lynch was planning to do, if he came out as like, I got a script called Earthworm Jim, because he's all fascinated with names like Bob and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, he uses the name Bob so much. So having a character called Earthworm Jim would be a total David Lynch movie.
Yeah, I wouldn't question that. I'd be like, okay, yeah, fine.
Yeah, he just loves like Joe and like Earl, like these one syllable, simple kind of rustic, slightly redneck names.
Earthworm Earl.
Yeah.
Earthworm Yashito.
I'm sure you probably did the same, John, but I was trying to decipher what exactly the cocktail is.
Yes, that's my very next question. That's what I was going to ask you.
And looking at it, it looks to me like it's got a slice of lemon there, and it's got a cherry at the bottom, and it's a clear liquid, which I would consider to be a Tom Collins. As far as that's like part of it's like gin, lemon juice, and like carbonated water.
But do you get a little straw with one of those? The straw gives it more of a femme vibe.
Yeah, that was the thing. It's not in, because I think if you look up at Tom Collins, they have it's like a Collins glass. It's like a straight tumbler kind of thing. So I don't know if it's just like the bar doesn't have those, but if you want a Tom Collins, I think even the idea of Jeff drink, I guess maybe he is an Orlandian, so maybe they're all into cocktails down there.
I'd love it if they were drinking like the girliest ones, like a woo woo.
Yeah. Oh, I want to see more umbrellas and stuff poking out of this thing. The big, swirly straw.
Well, it's a very interesting choice of drink, because normally, if I was writing this movie, and maybe this is obvious, right? And that's why I don't write movies. If I was writing a movie, I've got these tough guys, ninjas and bikers. You give them a pint, but that is obvious, right? This is different.
Yeah. You give them, maybe because, Americans, they always buy like bottles of beer and bars and stuff, which is always weird to me, but like, give them like a shot of whiskey.
Yeah, at least a whiskey, something like that, yeah.
Yeah, Jeff strikes me as the guy who's drinking, out of a jug with 3 X's on it. It's like he doesn't seem like the most refined guy.
He drinks his own moonshine.
Exactly, yeah. Maybe that's why, because Yashito appears from his clothes to be a bit more of a dandy. So maybe I'm assuming it's him who's got in the drinks.
Yeah.
It's, he moved a lot of coke down in Florida there. So.
So Jeff's just gone a lot like, oh yeah, he's been handed it. Oh, thanks.
Yeah. He's like, I clink it, okay, and then you imagine he's gonna drink and be like, what the hell is this? What's it they said about the White Claw and Cobra Kai? It's like, it tastes like a watermelon took a piss.
I can't get into White Claw. I tried, because it's like, it was all the rage in America, and it's not too bad for you. So I was like, okay. Like, it wasn't that bad, but it tasted like I was just drinking flavored water. It's like, I'm drinking alcohol. I want it to taste alcoholic. It
seemed like it was a thing that was all the rage in America, but all I heard about was people complaining about how bad it was. So it was kind of an odd thing then that it arrived here. Is if like, now you all like it. It's like, all I could care is people taking the piss out of White Claw.
Yeah, I don't think this country ever asked for that.
No. And particularly not at these prices. I'll tell you that.
We're both here and where you're from now, very hard drinking places. So people don't want White Claw.
I will say, I don't know if you've ever been there yourself, John, but I met up last week with frequent Batminute guest, Jack Harvey. and we went to a speakeasy in Liverpool that I did not know was there.
Oh, is this the secret one?
Yeah.
I've heard about it, but I've not been.
The Rye and Berry, and you mentioned it, and I was like, I've never been there. He's like, oh, and so it's on Berry Street, so it's called the Rye and Berry, and literally just it looks like a derelict building, and he went over, and he's like, I'm pretty sure this is the door. Knocked on it, nobody answered. He's like, knocked again, nobody answered, and he's like, I think it'll be the third go. Knocked on it, as soon as he rapped the third time, they're like, open the door, like. As if they were like, yeah, it's a 3-knock system.
That's the code. Open.
And you go in, it's like it was great. It was a proper old timey Boardwalk Empire-y speakeasy where it was like, they had a live band on, guy playing like Delta blues songs, and a guy with a harmonica next to him.
No, I want somebody to just straight up do covers of all of those 90s swing revival songs. Zoot Suit Riot.
This is Lou Bega just has a residency in there. It's the only place Hatman and Scatman.
Hell yeah.
Doing that by himself.
Or
what is the sound of one man scatting? But you, because I went in though, John. But you in particular, like the price, like it's one of these things. They hand you like a little leather book, and all the pages look really weathered, like it's really old. But that's the menu and stuff. And it was quite expensive in there. But Jack got himself an old fashioned.
Yes.
And you would have loved because it had the proper, like, it was the ice cube that took up the whole glass.
Brilliant. Because they melt really slow as well. Good.
Yeah, it was a good old fashioned. And even, of course, Jack himself, he's a bit of a connoisseur, that kind of thing. So he was talking about, like, they make the best old fashions here. It's exactly the right blend of. And then for the first time in my life, I got a Boilermaker.
Oh, yeah.
And then I felt a bit of a tit because I wasn't too sure, like, so you have the whiskey and then you have the beer. I was like, am I supposed to? I would assume you're supposed to just down the whiskey and then the beer is the chaser. But then I was like, this guy knows about cocktails.
Ask him,
and stuff.
yeah.
But then I was like, I don't want it because then he'll be like, well, how could you be 35 and not know what a Boilermaker is?
To be fair, I've never had it. I've heard of it, but I've not had it.
Yeah, so it was one of these things. Am I supposed to pour this in the beer? But I decided against it, so every time he wasn't looking, I was just taking sips of the whiskey and taking sips of the beer. But it was great now. I would highly recommend. I can point it out to you the next time, if we should ever be in town. But it's definitely, I can imagine it's your scene. So if you're looking to, like, woo anybody and you want to make it seem like you're really cool, you're like, I know a place.
Make it seem like I'm cool. I do a podcast. I'm very cool.
It's once they hear about the Batman and Miami Connection podcasts, they'll just be like, oh yeah, take me up.
That wins them over every time. Batman,
yeah,
nothing sexier than Batman.
Although now, if we ever go, we should have a Tom Collins in a martini glass or whatever the hell the Jeff's.
We'll just take him a picture of this and be like, replicate this for me. Whatever's going on here, these vibes.
Yeah, like anytime I've looked up anytime I have had a Tom Collins in the past, and I believe it classically does have a lemon wedge and a cherry in it. So
there you go.
That's what it kind of looks like that's happening here. So, and again, I think even Jeff doesn't know what this is. Like, he's just like, it's, you could literally slip me anything here. Yashito. So I've been listening to Karate Kid minutes because they were reviewing the finale of Cobra Kai earlier. Yeah. So I've got Cobra Kai in the head again. But yeah, so and even Jeff's his clink isn't all that enthusiastic. He's just gonna go like, okay.
Yeah, I do like that touch though, because Jeff, he's having a tough time. And as you say, Yashito's kind of trying to cheer him up, so it's almost performative. Like, when you want to make sure someone's having a good time, so you exaggerate how happy you are. Like, oh, this is great, isn't it?
It is so weird that, like, Yashito he is the main villain. Because everything about now this scene in the nightclub, I guess we're embellishing it a lot, but, like, he seems like a pretty chill guy. So.
Yeah, he seems all right, Have we got any evidence that he's evil?
I mean, beyond the opening scene. Although it was only killing drug dealers, so I mean.
Well, exactly. So it could be like a Dexter situation, right?
Yeah. This YK Kim wakes up later in the movie, like Saran wraps the table. But of course, yes, the explosion fades away. And then we go to like a hard cut to the University of Central Florida.
Did you do what I did? I looked up that uni to see if it was real.
Yes, I did.
Uh-huh.
And I was just again, America's such a big place. I was like, there's both a University of Florida and a University of Central Florida.
Yep.
And it's just like, you got a lot of space to cover, guys.
You
know, I suppose over here you have like Manchester has like, well, Liverpool has 3 universities, but
yeah,
and that's a relatively small city
in comparison to American cities. Yeah. But I was quite impressed they didn't just invent a phony one, because that's what you would normally do. But I think
the University of Connecting Miamians.
I think it probably ties into getting permission to shoot here. It's like, well, you got to show it.
Well, I do have info on something about that in a little bit.
Yeah.
I am certain that this is the legit University of Central Florida.
Same.
And whether they had permission to shoot on this campus is they might have got a nod from someone, but whether that was the person they needed to ask is another matter.
That's probably it, because we see someone later who is we see a teacher who is a teacher. But
yes,
we will.
Yeah, that was the thing. Yeah.
Well, this logo you see in the background, though, when you've got the outdoor shot in like the what do you want to call this area? Americans always call it the quad, but that's not what we would call it. What would we call this? Just like the
Commons?
Something like that.
Yeah.
But there's a logo you see in the back, and I went to even the depths of zoom and enhance, and I made sure that is the actual logo.
I trust you did this through voice activation while you sat with a glass of whiskey, like on the sofa, just barking orders at your computer.
Of course, it was like 28 degrees, and it took me like 50 hours of talking just to get to zoom in.
Down a little bit. No, it's too far. Back up.
God, that system. Just use the mouse. What's he doing? Blade Runner.
Nowadays, Decker just on your phone, just use your fingers and zoom in, man.
Not everything has to be voice activated. But no, that is the logo. So even more evidence. They wouldn't go to the lengths to make a fake like logo for the uni, stick it up there that you can barely see. So I think that's just real.
Yeah.
And I actually looked up what the logo is. It is Pegasus. Which symbolizes the university's vision of limitless possibilities. And
it does sound like a very Miami connection outlook as well.
It does, actually. That's very YKK. It turns out YKK runs the uni.
Yeah. I'm a bit disappointed that their logo isn't like, only through the eradication of violence can we achieve world peace.
Yeah, that's their motto. It goes with the logo. Yeah. I looked up a few random little things I liked as well. The sports teams are known as the UCF Knights. And they are represented by their mascot, Nitro. like KNIGHTRO.
What is it, like a knight on fire? Like what does this guy look like?
Yeah, Nitro. I thought that was fucking cool. Badass.
That is wasn't the name of one of the guys in Small Soldiers, like Nick Nitro or something?
Oh my god, I think it might have been.
That is a cool goddamn name. Like Nick in itself is a cool name, but Nick Nitro, come on.
Nick Nitro. You don't snuggle with Nick Nitro.
You strap yourself in and you feel the burns.
Yeah, feel the burn. Something else I thought that was quite cool about the school is that they have very strong ties to NASA.
Ooh.
So we are going to get
the beginning of that when I just heard the I was like, it's not going to be Nazis.
Oh my god! Well, NASA has strong ties to Nazis, so
there you go.
You know,
so by default, that's what the NAS is. That's what it stands for. In NASA.
They've been hoodwinking us the whole time. No, it is true. I mean, where do you think they got most of the technology that took them to the moon?
That's going to be at some point once they conquer the moon. The SA is going to fall away. It was a ZI underneath the whole time.
Oh my god.
We should also say, in case there's anyone working from NASA listening, we know that you're not Nazis down there.
We know.
It's a wonderful organization.
It genuinely is, actually. They do some good stuff. I said that like I'm a fan of their work. You know, they do some good stuff. Check them out. You know,
NASA, a cracking bunch of lads.
So I'm assuming then, since this school has ties to NASA, that later on we're going to get the first rock band to play in outer space, right?
Oh, goddamn better be Dragon Sound.
It's got to be. It's got to be. Dragon Sound, that's the sequel.
I'd love to see YK Kim in a spacesuit miming the guitar, just floating. And people are like, I guess that's the only way you could play a guitar in a spacesuit, really.
Well, another random fact is a famous person went here. Famous to me and you. I mean, famous in general, but especially to me and you. Cheryl from Curb Your Enthusiasm went to this school.
Oh.
So I was like, claim to fame. Yeah, I don't think she had ties to NASA or Nazis.
Well, she was married to, very prominent Jewish man for many, in fictional.
But if you've seen
a fictionalized version of a real life Jewish man.
If you've seen Curb Your Enthusiasm, though, that other Jewish guy seems to think Larry David is a Nazi. He's playing Nazi music.
Yeah, see, he's that was the I might hate myself, but I'm not because I'm Jewish.
That's a great episode.
You're a self-loathing Jew, Larry.
But also, I thought looking at the school was, you saying earlier about ages and things. There's a lot of students milling about. Now, is it just me, or does every student look too old? Like every single one of them. There's a very hunched over bald man in the background. I suppose he could be faculty.
Yeah, it could be. He has the vibe. That guy's strutting the kind of the rolled up white shirt. Yeah, he has the vibe of a getting on in years geography teacher or something.
Then again, every class has that one random old dude at the back who's just there. You're like, yeah, he's just in every class.
Yeah, the Pierce, the Chevy Chase of the group, I guess.
Exactly.
Oh man, we need the Miami Connection community crossover.
Why not? I mean, there's a movie coming.
No, yeah. And maybe if we can we've had the movie Miami Connection, but maybe we can get 6 seasons of a Miami Connection TV show just to have a beautiful parallel between the two things.
Absolutely. It's got to be dark and gritty as well.
I'm curious about this community movie because it's like, well, who's writing it? Like, who's involved in this thing? But although to be fair, I never thought the show. I know people said like, oh no, and Dan Harmon, got chucked in season 4. It went downhill. I was like, I never noticed a dip in quality. I thought it was great the whole way through. But I
thought it wasn't quite as good, but that doesn't mean it was ever it wasn't bad. I still thought it was amazing.
Yeah,
I had no real issues with it. My only worry with the movie is seeing who's not in it. Or allegedly not in it.
Oh, no, I'm sure they'll probably... Yvette Nicole Brown, I imagine they'll get her back somehow. Donald Glover might be the one where, like, well, he is very big.
He is, but you need him.
Yeah. I don't think he doesn't seem like the kind of guy who'd be an asshole, though. Be like, I've grown beyond it. I'd be like, come on, man. Just one scene. Give us one scene. Come on,
I think if you can't get him, don't do it. Like, I genuinely think, like, he's that integral to it. It's the complete ensemble except for Chevy Chase.
Yeah, Chevy Chase is like, who cares? But although they both did, like there were seasons without both Donald Glover and Chevy Chase. So some people were like, well, they did it before. Get Keith David back. He was integral to it at the end. But
this is the movie.
Yeah, no, you think you need to have everybody. Like
you need Troy and Abed. Come on.
Yeah, Troy and Abed in a movie.
Woo. In Miami.
Yeah, but the Jonathan Banks is in it for a season, and then he just disappeared as well. So get him back. He's always a welcome sight.
He was good in it as well.
He was great. I have no idea why he didn't come back, but I'm sure there probably is a well publicized reason why he didn't come back. And also he was replaced by Keith David, who was a welcome addition. But,
yeah.
But I do enjoy the audio when this group gets together because you just hear like rah, 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 and then somebody's just going looking good.
Yeah, looking good, and everyone is looking good.
Oh, cool. Well, I mean, it's Dragon Sound. How could they not look good?
Hell yeah! And I've noticed as well that white seems to be a very popular fashion choice here when it comes to color. And I suppose the 80s did have like a lot more white than people think of. People always think neon, and it's like that. To me, that's actually more 1990, something like that. There's a lot of white going on in the 80s. White jeans.
Yeah.
For example, do you ever see white jeans really outside the 80s? Not much.
Yeah, I mean, so you had George Michael and Wham, like that iconic look of the white T-shirts and stuff, walking around. So maybe people were subconsciously like, yeah, we all want to be Wham. Really,
I mean, I want to be. Why wouldn't you? But I mean, I'm one of the only people I know who wears a lot of white T-shirts. I think people don't wear white much anymore.
No, so I always tend to avoid white myself because it highlights the blemishes of my skin, basically. Every time you see it, it's like, oh, a bright white, and then you go like look up and you're like, oh, what the hell is at the top? So no, I tend to avoid. Plus, also, staining, things like that.
I think that's what people are worried about. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just impossible to hide anything. If it's like if it's on a black T-shirt, or if it's on a T-shirt with a design of some sort, you can kind of blag that it's okay. But a white T-shirt is like no.
But you know what?
You might as well throw it out.
I think it's extra sexy, right? Because it shows your confidence in your control. You're like, I am so in control of myself and of situations around me. I can wear this. I can wear white. It doesn't matter. Nothing is going to happen.
I've never been quite taken by what's that artist? I think she has changed up her look since. But I think she was Swedish. There's a lady out called Sigrid.
Oh, I haven't seen them. I don't think.
And I think they played Glastonbury this year. But their look for a while was like they just had straight brown hair, blue jeans, and a white T-shirt. That's all she ever wore.
And just plain white, like nothing else.
Yeah, plain white. And it was just such a kind of like, oh, she's managed to make the most basic look in the universe kind of synonymous with her to me now. Because it was just like, yeah, white T-shirt, blue jeans. Back in the day, that would have been like, oh, it's like a James Dean, greaser kind of uniform or whatever. Yeah. But now I'm just like, yeah, she instead of in an age where every celebrity is trying to like go as elaborate and flamboyant as they possibly can, she was just going, nope. I'm just like basic haircut, basic T-shirt, basic jeans, and then the music speaks for itself and stuff.
No, but I really like that because I think look is important because you're presenting a whole package, right? But she has obviously put a lot of work and effort into cultivating that specific image. I don't like it when bands look like they literally just rolled onto the stage.
Yes.
Which you might think is weird for a punk. No, it's not. All the original punk bands cultivated a certain look and image that went with the music. The Sex Pistols have a look. The Clash, in fact, in the Clash documentaries that I've got, Joe Strummer is talking about how important it was to get the look right. And he came up with it with he had like, there was two people, I think the manager had helping sew the clothes, So he came up with this look. He's like, he wanted it to be rigid and harsh and Stalinist, he said. And it's like, yeah, cool. I mean, even Buzzcocks, they've got very specific patterns on shirts and things. You've got to think about these looks. Even if it's simple, if you can make that into an image, you've done it.
Yeah, totally. Like Wham did it.
Yeah, Wham did it. Perfect example.
Yeah. I said, dude, you mentioned the Clash. I just it took me by surprise. But like randomly, I had like YouTube playing the other day, and just like songs were coming on one after the other, and friggin' "Dictator" by the Clash came on.
Hey,
and I was just like, you always have that reaction to it, where it's like, is there like multiple windows on my computer open? Like, what is this cacophony? And I was like, no, it's just Dictator. They're playing like 7 different songs at the same time.
Yeah, it's an interesting one to randomly come on, I'll be honest.
It wasn't like I was I only remember this song because of the only other time I ever heard it. I was like, what the hell is this? And then for it to randomly pop up, I was like, that's that thing again. Why has this now come back to me again 7 years later or whatever it is?
And now it's your favorite song.
To be fair, like I was kind of like, you had that reaction of like, oh my god, this is kind of awful. And then after a while, like I keep thinking about it because it seems like they were really going for something with that. I don't know if it works at all, but they're like, well, we did a thing though.
The thing is, it's from their album that the band sort of refused to even acknowledge as an album.
Oh, cut the crap.
Cut the crap, yeah, because most of the music was, well, there were demos. They knocked out some demos. It was mostly a new band as well. There's only like 2 of the originals. I think it was Joe and Paul. I think everyone else had gone. So basically, the manager took the demos, put his own music to it, and then released it without telling them. It's like, what?
I mean, yep, it sounds like it. So like, oh yeah, that like that raw, powerful Clash sound. That was like the amount of goddamn drum machine on this album
because he didn't
insane.
want to go and get the drummer to come in and do drums.
Yeah. But anywho,
hey, well,
speaking of clashes,
there's a lot of music going on in this movie. We can talk about music.
Yeah, because we're already seeing the greatest band of the '80s. All dispersing.
The Clash wish they could have been this band.
There's more than just. It seems like it's Dragon Sound and friends.
Oh yeah,
like, there's more than just the band there. So
well, they've got friends outside of their circle now. Come on.
Must be weird later on though, going like, so what have you guys been up to? Like, oh, friggin' Jim got kidnapped by a bunch of. We had to go, ended up killing a guy. It was crazy.
Oh, what a wild weekend!
It's like, I think, well, Mark, aren't you always about like only through the eradication of violence? Like, I know, I say that all the time.
He did eradicate the violence of the enemy.
Maybe that's the thing. It's like, that's not a message of peace. That's like only by killing everybody who is violent. And then at the end, he'll commit seppuku and fall on his own sword.
Yeah, because that's the way. He is the last. It's like Terminator 2. He is the last one. He has to go.
The last one ends with Jim going like, "I order you not to go. I order you not to go." I understand why you cry, Jim. And his dad, like young guy with the white, the freaking talcum powder in his hair.
Yes.
You've got a new father now.
Oh God. Oh.
I'm just gonna like, it'll be so long before we get to that guy. But it's like just when you think the movie's over, they throw in Jim's dad.
They reel you back in, baby.
They're like, oh, throw this epilogue in, but like there won't be much to talk about there. Like, what?
But back in the minute, we cut then to a computer lab.
Yeah.
Something that would have been super high tech at the time, but totally fits with the tech and NASA background of this university, I think.
Yeah. A good big close up of Jane doing that kind of awkward pretend you're typing.
Yeah.
And...
Just type anything. It's fine. Any old shit.
Yeah. Her face is too animated for someone who's actually just sitting typing. Like, I have to sit and type all day. And it's literally a slack jaw, kind of like,
but you're not programming in BASIC.
In case you forget how to do it, they've got it written up on the blackboard.
Yeah. I actually looked up what's on the blackboard.
As did I.
Oh, you did as well. Okay, because it is all legit.
That was the reason I got into it so much was because I was like, why would you say that the team came in fourth? Like, that's the most unimpressive kind of thing. That's like you wouldn't even make the podium.
Well, hang on. The real this could go either way, because coming fourth, pretty cool for an international competition, because that's what they say it is, international programming. But we need to know fourth out of what.
Well, I did look into this.
Oh, good, because if it's fourth, the way he's written it, it looks like they came last. Doesn't it? He stopped at 4.
Yeah. Do you want to write down like, oh, there was like 190 entries?
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. If they're 4th out of 190, you're like, oh, that's cool.
Oh, no. But I was stunned because I was just really like, why would you say 4th? And then I just decided to look into like what he calls it, like the international programming contest or something. It's like,
very vague.
That's such a basic name. There's no way it's called that. And then looked it up. It's like, no, it is a legitimate thing. And you can't get all the results dating back to 1977.
Oh my God.
Online. It's the ICPC, which is called it's like the International Collegiate Programming Championship or something like that. I think is the exact terminology for it. So it's a little bit better than the International Programming Contest. But surely, and I was going through it and it's like, all right, so 83, 85, and then eventually got down to 1986. And number 4 was, of course, Central Florida. And I was like, oh my God.
So this is just real.
And then looking up, everything, because he's got their number 1, you can barely see, but I assumed it was Caltech.
Yeah, I think I can see an L at the end and then definitely Tech.
Yeah. Then he's got number 2 is like Rensselaer Poly Institute. And then number 3 is Rice. And you look up the 1986 ACM contest finals, which were held on February 5th, 1986 in Cincinnati, Ohio. And number 1 was Caltech. Number 2 was Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. Number 3 was Rice University. And number 4 was the University of Central. So it's a legit score. Like, it's like, and this is what I'm thinking is, because that teacher, too, as far as I can tell, that's a guy called John Leeson.
Yes. Who
did teach, and he might still to this day. But I'm assuming they were like, can we shoot here? Can we use this classroom? And he'd be like, oh, sure. But, we just had this big win. So if you could work that into the script, guys, that'd be great.
Well, I think that's probably right as well, because Joseph Diamond, who plays Jack, he went to UCF, and he was a computer science student.
There you go.
So I think they let him use the space, basically, and we're like, put in a good word, for all the hard work that we've all done as a team.
Fair play to John Leeson. He seems up for it. I should say, too, though, if only they had waited a year, because in 1987, University of Central Florida came second in the same competition.
Well, they were inspired by their performance here, you see. They were inspired by the movie.
You see, like, all the fame they were getting from Miami Connection. Everyone was like, and then I think the pressure must have got to them, because they sort of drop off the map with it for a couple of years. But then they appear again in, is it 91?
Oh, I was hoping it was right around the time this movie was discovered again.
But no, 91 they came in 5th. So, but I mean, and then never again since. But well, to be fair though, it's it's an impressive feat considering it actually did happen. But I don't know. I think if I was there, I'd be like, I guess we can't say that we came first, because then someone might actually look it up sometime.
Just be honest, be truthful. And fourth again could be very impressive. It's worldwide.
Yeah. I guess too, if there's someone who was who took this class, he might legitimately just be proud of the result, and he's like, I'm working in.
Well, and here's another interesting thing about the teacher. As we said, he really is the teacher, but he is also a student of YK Kim.
Ah, there we go.
Yeah, I got that from the commentary track.
I mean, if you don't let us use your classroom, then I'm going to do that weird toe holds on your nose.
That's how he tortured him into saying, he just grabbed his nose and like, tell me we can have it, tell me. That's amazing, though. Everything's connected.
Yeah. The only info I got on John Leeson beyond that is that there's also a John Leeson who works for the University of Miami. Oh. I was like, he didn't jump ship, did he? Oh my god. Like the ultimate betrayal.
Traitor.
But no, I think that guy is like a teacher of mathematics, which could be related to computer programming.
Oh, yeah. Computer programming back then, especially heavy on the maths.
Yeah. But no, I think then he did stick, because I found an article from the early 2000s about like the boom and advancements in using computers to track criminals. Like underage pornography, that kind of thing. But also like, if we get into a guy's house and we have his computer, we can go and like go through metadata and stuff like that. And a guy who was really leading the field in it was John Leeson. Oh. Apparently he was like he was Florida's go-to guy for like, John Leeson knows how to do all this stuff. So
that's amazing.
He had a whole team behind him and stuff. So I guess maybe that's why they fell off the map in terms of the competition. He had genuine crimes to solve at some point. So,
well, he had to take care of all the drug dealing ninjas. So.
Yeah. I mean, that's how they found BTK. Was computer stuff, and also him just being an idiot.
And rock bands helped, I believe.
But just like the whole thing of like, people don't know the BTK killer was basically caught because he couldn't help himself. Like, he was running free for decades, and he just kept sending letters to the police, taunting them.
This is what these people do. It's almost like they want to be caught.
Yeah, and then this is like, you might as well just gone and handed yourself in at this point, where he was like, I want to send you guys a floppy disk, but I'm worried that like you'll be able to trace it back to me, so you can't do that, right? And the police were just like, no, we can't do that at all. And as soon as they got it, took it into the lab, they're like, metadata comes from this church, and it was last used by a guy called Dennis. Oh, what do you know? Dennis Rader is the head of this church group. That's the guy. And then there you go, he was caught.
And it was him all along.
Yeah, but you have people like John Leeson to thank for that, though.
I can't hear BTK though without. It sounds like a sandwich.
Yeah, the amount of times I've called him the BLT killer.
BLT killer, yeah. I'll go into Subway. I'll be like, I'll have the BTK.
I wouldn't be surprised if there has been some sandwich shop that's tried to do like a BTK sandwich.
Oh God! Oh no!
Bacon, tomato, and
kale.
Ah.
What else goes with K?
Ketamine.
Well, but that's
We're
probably more
hardcore
fitting,
around here.
Who doesn't like a nice bit of ketamine in their sandwiches?
Corn, but it's just like they just play corn. They just play that while you're eating it or something.
What a kumquat.
Yeah, let's work with
listeners. Come up with a BTK sandwich for us, please, and we'll eat it live on air.
How can I not think of things that begin with K now? Like it just seems like is there just no food? There's no mainstream food that begins with K all of a sudden.
Kimchi.
I mean but still that's getting into very niche stuff.
Yeah,
I was hoping for something like
cucumber with a K.
Yeah, that's all C. Yeah. God damn it. But anywho,
Kool-Aid.
Yeah. So this is all legit, and fair play with them as well. So.
It really is awesome. I thought that was a nice touch. But the teacher, though, he wants the attention of the class, and I just instantly thought he sounds a bit like Rick Moranis. He's got his voice.
It's got that Lewis Tully. Like reading Oscar a bedtime story in Ghostbusters too, like it's all the 7 little dwarfs, but you shouldn't really do that, because it's actually illegal.
Only way to improve this is get rid of the actual teacher, just have Rick Moranis play him.
Imagine at the end he was dying to get in to Miami Connection, and White Kid goes, "No, I really have to go now, John." Like, okay, you can film in my class.
Yes.
Like, maybe we'll film something later, John. All right.
I couldn't get 100% info on this, but taking all that info we've just talked about, except for Rick Moranis, this has to be the actual just computer lab, right?
Yeah, it's so unimpressive.
Yeah.
It would make me think it is a genuine 1980s computer lab.
Because if you were making a movie, you would make it look cool and hip. And it's like, no, it looks like it's full of nerds. And it is. And it's great. And it's fantastic. And, I mean, they even, I loved seeing this, for instance. They are using floppy disks, as in real floppy disks, the 8-inch and 5 1/4 versions, not the 3.5 shit. Not the ones we had that weren't floppy. They were actually hard. These are the old school ones. These are actually floppy. They bend all over the place.
The ones the ones that mock you by being in the corner of Microsoft Word every time you have to save, John. Like there it is. Those pieces of those poser floppy.
Oh well, they're the shitty ones. They're the ones we had. I say shitty. Let's be honest. They were fucking revolutionary.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
But when I first got into computers, these floppies, these big 5 1/4. A lot of these are 8 inches. That's what she said. These were still around a little bit. We had a drive that took them, and we had a few programs on them still. And they always fascinated me with how floppy they were. Who doesn't like it nice and floppy?
And then the patriarchy kicked in, and then they started making everything stiff. So you got CDs, you got the other floppy disks, you got USB. There's no flop to a USB. What the hell is that?
There you go. Maybe that's what... Because look, there's a lot of women in this class. Maybe that's what pushed women out of computing for so many years, was stiffening everything up, making it too aggressive. It's very in your face.
The thing I do like the... I think that would have intimidated me with computers back then, is it's the black screen with the writing on it, because it looks so like, you're not playing around with this. Like, this is an actual... this programming is serious business, but there's lots of information on the screen. It's not accessible. Like, it's not like a thing you can just sort of sit down and pick it up as you go.
No. Like, these days, I'm not going to say it's easy, because I can't do it, but it's considerably easier to just sit and learn how to do programs, like programming. Back then, it's like, there's no way. You'd have to go to this class, Yeah.
Although I guess the fact that he still has to get into basic enter, basic or whatever. It's like, is this the first day or something? It seems very.
That's a good
point. Are they
point.
a new class and they're like, this is literally like September 20th, first day of class or something?
Oh, that's a good point, because I was going to say, well, how can they not know how to open basic when they came fourth in a competition? But maybe it's not this class that came fourth.
Yeah, I think they might be like now you have to live up to the legacy of the
which, as you saw in the results, this class will not.
Oh no, but the next class they came second, so I don't know. Actually, maybe that this might be because Jane strikes me as maybe she's I've got to use a very American word, a freshman.
Yeah. First year or something, you'd say, I suppose.
Yeah. But I imagine the team is like, that's like your final years. That's the guys who the boys and girls who have been in the trenches.
They've been programming with the best of them.
Yeah, all they can see is this black screens with green writing on it. That's all they know anymore.
They see the Matrix.
That's always made me like, remember in the Cronenberg version of The Fly, he'd always type in things to the computer, and there was a black screen and stuff. But it was always like really, I guess because David Cronenberg didn't have a clue how a computer worked either, so he was just like, I guess the computer would just tell him, like, you just literally type in, it's like, why am I turning into a fly or whatever, and the computer would literally go to him, a fly got in the telepod with you, man. Like,
yeah, that's the thing. They didn't really figure out how to show computers working in movies at that point, did they? It's like, well, it's got to communicate with him. It's got to talk to him, right?
Yeah.
No.
Not even after Hackers, they've still not made it look all that dynamic.
No.
I mean, they tried. Was it even in the season finale just this summer of Cobra Kai? They have a whole big thing about them trying to upload a video to YouTube. And it's like, people sitting looking at computer screens just does not look dynamic.
Well, they try and put a fight around that, though.
Yeah. They're doing even the swordfish thing, though. Like, John Travolta's got a gun to Hugh Jackman's head. He's still just sitting typing on a keyboard, though. It's not all that exciting. But...
Well, computers, as much as I love them, they're not that exciting. It's kind of difficult. But no, I do like seeing old computers. I mean, these are older than my experience. I mean, I got a computer. I mean, they were always around the house, but I probably got given my first one to use by myself, like 1989, probably.
Holy moly! What age were you in '89?
I was 3.
Holy crap!
Yeah, I've had a computer all my life, pretty much.
Oh.
So I was given like I had an Atari ST and stuff. Was my first, that's technically a gaming console, but it operates like a computer, and it's got a mouse and it's got an operating system and all this, and you could do some basic kind of PC-esque things on it. So that was a good learning.
Could you enter BASIC through BASIC?
Not on Atari. I never did learn any programming, which is bizarre. People can't wrap their head around that. I mean, I grew up with I had Microsoft DOS. There was no Windows really. I mean, you had Windows, but you never used it. It wasn't like, why would you want to use Windows? So it is fun seeing the old sort of computers, because things have changed so much. I mean, I am sat at my computer right now watching a minute of a movie on loop with some notes up, talking to you across the city, recording what we're doing. Like, unthinkable.
Yeah, back then it's like, what can you do with this? Well, we had a game where you could get dysentery and die at the end of it.
That was a good game.
That was all we had. That was the fun. But I liked seeing them myself. I love the sound of keyboards clattering. Something.
What is the sound of one keyboard clattering?
There's something about it, though.
That.
Like, I found, I almost put, I put on night sounds. It's like, I don't know if I can get a loop of just like keyboards clattering. YouTube has literally everything. That's bound to be like a 10-hour video.
I could create you one, because I use a mechanical keyboard, it's basically the modern version of these keyboards. That's what I use, and you get that noise out of them.
Yeah. I think I'm sitting typing all day as well, though. Maybe it might be inadvisable, because otherwise you just might have a mental break of all you're hearing all day. Yeah. It's just.
You're right though when you mention them just typing away. Like they're not. Even if they are real students, they're not very good at pretending. It's like miming an instrument. Even if you're a musician, miming it is a different skill.
I'm thinking they're just legit students as well, though, 'cause just by the look of them. Yeah. Like, you stop at like 53 seconds, the two guys over in the corner, they are like that is a typical 1980s computer science students, like dorky mustaches, crappy haircuts, just like, and everyone they just look a bit awkward and stuff. It's just like, no, that's it. That's the real deal. They're probably like absolutely just astounded that there's a movie star in Jane sitting in the class with them. It's like, she's so beautiful. She's gonna be in a movie and stuff. Like, calm it down, guys. It's only Miami Connection.
The ones who aren't Kim's students will be thinking that at least.
Yeah.
Because they might. I was gonna say they might know her, but she isn't one of his students. So.
Oh, maybe he's trying to sway her.
Yeah, it's all a con to get her to join the martial arts school.
All the guys start typing with their toes on the keyboards and stuff. Yeah. This is what Master Kim taught us. But yeah, and then we do get. I've discovered I've got it's a Pavlovian thing, truly. Of even in movies, when people start breaking into applause, I kind of do it myself.
Yeah. Woo!
I was sitting in my room, just sitting on the sofa or whatever, to someone, and they're like, "Oh, give these guys a round of applause," and I'm sitting there like, "Oh."
Well, you don't want to look like that jerk who's not clapping.
Unless you really want to go for it, and you're just like arms folded, glaring at everybody, like
that guy who wouldn't salute Hitler. Going back to that topic, there's that famous picture of that guy who refused to in a big crowd. Yeah.
So you do that, or you do the.
Oh yeah.
But then everyone's going to expect you to say something afterwards because they're all going to stop. Classically, they will all stop clapping and then turn and look at you in a very dramatic fashion.
And that's when you just quietly, slowly walk out of the room.
Yeah. Or you just start talking about how the person ruined your life, or like how you've come to take over the town or whatever. But yeah. That's pretty much the end of the minute, though, isn't it?
Yeah, clinking away on those keyboards. What are they doing? We're gonna find out. Spoiler: I don't think we're gonna find out at all. but do tune in case we do find out.
Do you think in this potential sequel, Jane's computer science wizardry would have been like part of like, oh, she's the only person who can take down this satellite that the ghost of Yashito has possessed, or something like that?
Basically, yeah, Yashito lives.
Yeah, Jeff has come back as a toaster or something.
Jeff's revenge.
And one of these guys, he creates a computer toaster and then didn't realize that Jeff's spirit was too close by, so it went in. And then somehow he rises Yashito from the grid. He pops him out of the toaster. And his spirit goes up into a satellite, and then there's a whole big thing. But it's on the same night that the Dragon Sound have a battle of the bands or something.
Oh my god, get it written.
And then they're sabotaged because Jeff and Yashito, their spirits go into the amps or something.
And then they have to digitize themselves and enter the amps and fight them martial arts style in the digital world. It's
the Miami Connection Tron crossover that the franchise was always hurtling towards, quite frankly.
With a touch of Lawnmower Man.
Oh, there we go. They could have been doing Lawnmower Man ahead of time.
There you go. Holy shit. Everything is connected.
Yeah. Beautiful.
But speaking of holy shit, right? Consult the drinking game, people.
Oh, this must be a Oh, wait, no. The opening 30 seconds.
Oh, boy. Right. I'm going to limit this to just like 2 sips here. But again, do what you want, because fist pumps. I mean, I couldn't keep up. I counted about 8. So if you want to take 8 drinks, feel free. I'm going for 1. Right. We see Dragon Sound play. That's a drink. And shirtless dudes. Again, I couldn't count them all. I think I counted. We saw, was it 3 or 4?
You can see, you see a bit of, not Jim. Well, you do see Jim. You also see Joe. You see the main Dragon Sound guys, basically. All of them except Mark. So, yeah, that's at least 3.
It's at least, there you go, people. Oh, my God. That'll do for me. But keep on going. Keep the party going. Keep it going till next week.
Oh,
in fact, that's my entire approach is like, we start you off on your Saturday. We get you nicely toasted. And then you can keep it going from minute 1 until the end of the movie.
Yeah. We just, giving something back to the world, I guess.
Just don't stop drinking. Just keep it going. I suppose.
I was to skip back to the start of the minute there just to see if there was to try to count the shirtless dudes myself, and there's a guy in the audience who looks like he has a gi on.
Well, he's a big fan. That's the merch.
Could be, yeah. Or unless like the reason those guys are shirtless is like, oh, we throw our gis into the audience and stuff. So that's a guy who's been there before. It's like, yeah, man, I'm here.
They should totally sell them as merch. I'd pay
totally.
top dollar.
Although that'd be if you want like a hand stitched one, that's gonna cost you.
Yeah, just get a cheapo one. And just
An
sew a Dragon
iron-on.
Sound patch on. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
done.
iron-on Dragon Sound patch.
$30.
Oh.
$90.
Yeah. But hey, speaking of merch, we got merch as well. So
Ooh, we do. So go and check out our merch, which you can, if you look up our network, Sleepy Charlie Media, on TeePublic. You can find it there. I think if you just put in Miami Minutes, it'll come up as well, but I actually haven't tested that. But you've got a few things there. You've got the logo, with or without words. You've got my weird fascination, even though I don't wear them myself, of those shirts that are character and character and character,
yeah.
People seem to like them, so I make them. And what else have I got? Oh, you can
To
get...
be fair, it would look pretty good, though, with just, like, Joe and Jack and Jim and...
Well, that's why I've made it. Yeah, because it's like, well, it's easy. It looks cool. People like it.
And then Mark at the bottom.
And you can get merch with only through the elimination of violence can we achieve world peace written on it. Get that on a notebook. Get that on a travel coffee mug thing. Get it on a pillow. I don't know. Whatever you want. You get it on a tapestry. You can do that, apparently. There's tapestries.
It's a castle. You do have tapestries.
I live in a castle. I have many tapestries. I mean, I'm English now. We all live in castles. That's how it works. Americans know this. Where else do they think we live? In houses?
Like some gutter commoner.
Disgraceful. But right now, I've left my castle. I'm living on those mean streets of Miami. And I'm going to go off. I'm going to get shelter until next week. So for now, we will break that connection. Speak to us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of those. And join us again in another week's time for minute 14. Hiya!
Listen to me.